Hello, welcome to the Basketball Soapbox. I'm your host, Daniel Daly. Thank you all for joining me as always. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as we head into breaking down the trade deadline in NBA All-Star Weekend, which is happening next weekend. But I will talk about that as that is set in stone. I will be talking about the NBA trade deadline. A lot of trades happened. No superstar trades happened, which everyone hopes for during this time. But especially with the new salary cap implications and people still trying to figure out how the salary cap is going to work, what we saw was a lot of smaller moves, a lot of swing guys that could be used on for contending teams now, trying to move up into contention. A lot of second round picks because now those have a little bit more value in the league as teams try to value draft picks apparently a little bit more than before because they're not trying to waste number one draft picks, as we'll see as I talk about the trades that go on here. But yeah, just a lot of moves that help teams get a little bit better. I thought there were some savvy moves, especially like the Knicks, the OKC Thunder, which I'll be talking about. But yeah, just some good trades that happened. Some teams that didn't make moves, which was surprising. But we'll get into that. But first, I want to talk about, of course, the New York Knicks. I believe they won the NBA trade deadline with the moves that they were able to make, getting Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic from the Detroit Pistons. For Evan Fournier, Malachi Finn, Quentin Grimes, Ryan Archie-Dinaki now, and 2 second-round draft picks. And also the Pistons released Killian Hayes, which I'll talk about as well. But the New York Knicks making these great moves to continue to, as I've been saying since the OG Anunoby trade, modernize their offense, create more spacing, create more shooting, something that wasn't in the wheelhouse for Tibbs-led teams, right, in the past, right? Like they were not always the greatest shooting teams and stuff like that. And especially with his makeup of his teams and his history, they have been strong defensively, strong guard play, and that's just how they work. They're just going to grind these games out. And of course, the New York Knicks have been doing that solid on the defensive end. Jalen Brunson leading the offense, having an Isaiah Thomas type NBA season so far this year. In terms of just a miniature guard, just making all the plays, right? Just keeping that team consistently going on his back. And respect to him, Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle has come around, got voted for the All-Star, but separated his shoulder, so he'll be missing it. But it was an All-Star for the New York Knicks this season, and they have been playing great. And what they've been trying to do is just figure out how to maximize this offense, maximize the spacing. RJ Barrett goes out, who is an okay shooter, but not the type of guy that OG Anunoby is and the defender that he is. They move him out. They get OG Anunoby, turn things around, and continue to look. They got rid of Evan Fournier, who they weren't using. Malachi Flynn as a backup guard at best. Quentin Grimes, who was a bright spot for them. But to get 2 guys like Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic moving forward, that's big time for them, especially when teams were trying to get those guys, one of those guys in separate deals. And to turn around and get both of these guys and not giving up first-round picks, not giving up any draft capital, it's just that nature, not giving up any big contracts or big names for your team that you want to have as your core moving forward. They keep all their bigs. They keep all their swing guys. Quentin Grimes is the guy that's an odd man out. But you easily do that for this trade and to get guys like Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks who can shoot the ball, play really well, fit into Tibbs' system, and be able to play both sides of the ball, which is important in this system for Tibbs. That's a big win for the New York Knicks. And I don't say that often, especially with trades, to sit there and turn around and get OG Anunoby, Alec Burks, Bojan Bogdanovic. Those are big wins for the New York Knicks, no question. And those guys are going to be playing backup roles once Julius Randle comes back. Jalen Brunson just sprained his ankle. So, and OG Anunoby was out with surgery, removing a bone chip in his elbow, I believe. But once those guys back and are at full tilt, they firmly move themselves up to say, hey, we're going to look Philly in the eye. We're going to look whenever they get Joel Embiid back at some point. We're going to look the Bucks in the eye. We're going to look Cleveland in the eye. Potentially the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going to try to say they can look in the eye. But they give themselves at least a shot, which the New York Knicks usually haven't had in a while. To move to the side of the Detroit Pistons, out of this, I think getting Quentin Grimes was the best thing. You get a young guard who's defensively on that side of the ball that can fit those concepts of Monty Williams right now. and play alongside Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey and see if he can work in that backcourt next to those guys. So I think that was a good win for them. They get a young player at least. And I just felt like at this point in time, when those guys like Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic, I felt like they could have got more for them. And I know I said they got 2 second-round picks, but that was selling short. And they had these guys for the past couple years, and we felt like they should have traded them. I believe they would have going to get for a couple first-rounders for Bojan last year. Alex Burks can probably get you a second-rounder, a couple picks, or maybe a nice player in a trade for his production. So I think the Pistons missed out on that, but they eventually finally traded those guys. So, I mean, that's a good positive thing for them, but they didn't get the draft capital that they wanted. And I can kind of understand where they were coming from, because they were probably having a little bit more different expectations heading into the season with Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart. Probably thought they were going to be a little bit better than they were, but maybe that's a bad sign to Monty Williams, right? You thought you were going to be better. You're not getting the value of these guys that you thought you would. The team's not playing really well. So this is kind of just a fire sale. You get what you can. Sequence and Grimes, I feel like that was a nice pickup for them, but I feel like they just sold themselves a little bit short, just holding on a little too long to those guys and not really getting first-round picks for them. That's the downfall of them. And out of all this, Killian Hayes wanted a bigger role, a change of scenery, and the Pistons released him. Which is crazy, right? Like Killian Hayes, who was a lottery pick, you thought would have been a part of your rebuilding going forward. And the Pistons were just like, no, we're not even going to try to trade you. We're not going to try to get any value for you. Just get out of here. That's the option. That's how bad it is in Detroit right now. That the fact that they missed out on first rounders for Bojan, Alex Burks, potentially, and released the lottery pick that they've had. That's Detroit. Now, I think Killian Hayes is going to get picked up at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs take a flyer on him, get him with Pop, actually get a point guard in there for Wemby and try to do something, or they just continue to tank and look towards the draft. I can see Minnesota looking at him as a backup point guard down the line. Mike Conley's getting older. Take a flyer on Killian Hayes. Things of that nature. That's what I'm thinking, that where he can land up and be on a team potentially and pan out. Maybe the Miami Heat. Maybe they can turn him around and save him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But the New York Knicks making a big swing here to improve their chances. Now, does that make them top 2 seed in the East? Who knows? Maybe they're playing really well right now. They're playing really well right now, currently 4th in the Eastern Conference, but in general, really positioning themselves to play well once they get Julius Randle back, Jalen Brunson back, everyone's healthy, and moving forward, OG Anunoby as well. So we'll see what happens with the New York Knicks going forward.